This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community. Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor is Community Matters, Inc. With nearly 20 years in the chamber industry and over 100 media awards presented to their chamber partners, Community Matters provides the R&R that every chamber needs, revenue and recognition. When it comes to publishing a chamber map, directory, or community guide, Community Matters has the trusted experience to help your chamber accomplish your goals. With different advertising sales models and publication styles, Community Matters will help you create a non-dues revenue machine. To learn how Community Matters can support your chamber with your next publication, please visit communitymattersinc.com/podcast to request your free media kit and request a proposal to find out what kind of non-dues revenue you can generate. You're joining us for a special episode in our 2024 ACCE Chamber of the Year Finalist series. And our guest for this episode is Ali Rauch. Ali is the president and CEO of the Opelika Chamber of Commerce. And she was a recent guest back in episode 266, so not too long ago. So if you wanted to go back and listen to what we talked about back then, she's kind of a firecracker and has a lot of energy coming into the chamber. So she's been in Opelika for, I guess, about 3.5, going on 4 years now.
Yeah, 4 years. Mm-hmm.
4 years. And in that time, have earned a 5-star accreditation through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and really making a big impact there in Opelika. Prior to her role at the chamber, she served in a wide array of industry, including software, manufacturing, higher education, and most notably, franchising and food services, where she served 8 years as director of marketing for Chicken Salad Chick. I remember stumbling on that last time as well. But Ali, we're excited to have you back with us today on Chamber Chat Podcast. I want to start by saying congratulations to you and your team for being selected as a Chamber of the Year finalist. What an accomplishment. But go ahead and say hello to everyone listening. And if you've got another interesting tidbit about yourself to share, we'd love to hear it.
Thank you. I don't remember what I shared last time, which was funny. I should have listened back to remember, but thank you for having us. We are so thrilled. I remember watching the West Alabama Chamber, who is, a major leader in our state and in the country, watching them win. And I had this little inkling, like I'm a competitive person, but I was like, man, I want to do that someday. And I thought it was going to take like a really long time. And honestly, it just, I went on a walk with one of my board members last night and he told me, he's like, Ali, no, you have just gone into hyperdrive. It's not that it doesn't take that long to do great things. You've just somehow, gotten the right people around you and have been able to make a major impact very quickly. So we're thrilled. We're excited. We're grateful. Can't wait for Dallas. But I guess let's see. Little known fact about me is I am a shareholder of the Green Bay Packers. Wait, that was my last one.
That was it.
Because you had the San Francisco thing. There we go.
That was it. Yeah.
Okay. Different one. I used to drag race cars. I drag raced a 1973 Camaro.
Nice.
All throughout high school. I've won a Wally, which is the official trophy of the National Hot Rod Association.
Awesome. That is cool. I've got a 68 Mustang. Yeah. So we might be able to cruise together someday.
Okay. That sound, it just
love it. Love it. Yeah. Awesome. Good deal. Well, tell us a little bit about the Opelika Chamber, your team, your wonderful team that's with you to make this achievement, and just give us an idea of size, staff, scope of work, budget, just to set the stage.
So Opelika is a smaller, I would consider it to be a rural community in Alabama. We're in East Central Alabama, and we are the sister city to Auburn, which is home of Auburn University. So we have that super cool college town adjacency, but Opelika is its hip older sister that has a really special and unique downtown area. We have a massive number of entrepreneurs and businesses in the area. It's a very prosperous area that tends to knock on wood, be a little bit recession proof, because between the university and the hospital, and we're very much on a transportation kind of hub that we tend to still continue to do well, and we've got a lot of growth happening in our community. We're the third fastest growing city in the state of Alabama. So very, very proud of kind of our growth. But our chamber is, we are the Opelika Chamber. So we represent the city of Opelika. However, because we are in a larger MSA area of about 170,000 people through Auburn, Opelika, and the county, we have a lot of businesses who fall outside of that actual city of Opelika. And so we're kind of in this in between where, yes, we have a town of 33,000, but we're serving a larger region as well. So we have about 1,000 members. We're 13 shy of 1,000 members right now, and we are very excited to break 1,000 and stay over that 1,000 hump in 2024. We're almost there. We've got a budget of under $1 million. We have currently a team of 7. And then of course we utilize some interns for help as well. But we have a really great partnership with our city where we have a contract for services where we're responsible for entrepreneurship. We're responsible for kind of business development. We do not do economic development. We do not do tourism. We have great partners for that. So we really stay hyper-focused on making sure our business community has what it needs. And we do that and stay focused on our mission to strengthen our community as the champion for business.
Awesome. Yeah, so you guys are kind of in a not weird, but it's a interesting situation where,
yeah.
I mean, you're not just the typical, hometown chamber, right? It's kind of a quasi, regional chamber as well. So,
yep. And we have a fellow chamber right across the street, not across the street, but 7 miles up the road, in our other sister city, who's just as large and doing great things. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, on these Chamber of the Year finalist episodes, I like to spend the majority of our time really diving into the 2 programs that you submitted on your synopsis and the application for Chamber of the Year. And we'll get much deeper into those details and what those programs were as soon as I get back from this quick break. Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar. Partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a small business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Are you looking for a way to promote your business community? Look no further than Pipily. With Pipily, you can get all the tools you need to connect with your members, promote your businesses, and grow your community. Pipily offers a wide range of features, including a state-of-the-art community website, a community clicker mobile app for businesses, members, and the community, a marketplace where businesses can present professional services and even sell their products, a powerful event management and community calendar system, a comprehensive commerce community management system, and a complete membership services department, all included. And best of all, Pipily is only $1 per member per month after a small initial setup. That's a fraction of the cost of other management platforms. So, what are you waiting for? Sign up for Pipily today and start growing your business community. Book a time to learn more at pipily.com. That's PIPPILY.com to book a time to meet and learn more. We'll show you how Pipily can help you promote your business community and grow your subscriptions. All right, Allie, we are back. So as I mentioned before the break, we're going to be diving into the 2 program synopsis that were included on your Chamber of the Year application. I understand the first one has to do with food trucks or something like that. Can you
Yes.
dive into that and tell us what that program's about and the impact it's made in the community?
Yeah, absolutely. A few years ago, it was actually in response to COVID. We had numerous restaurants closed in our historic downtown. In our historic downtown, it's beautiful. It's very cool. We have a courthouse square. We've got a railroad tracks, and then we've got downtown merchants. And we had some businesses, specifically restaurants, closed during COVID. And we are also home of the very first legal distillery for bourbon and vodka and everything in the state of Alabama since Prohibition is made right there in our downtown. And so we've got a distillery, we have two breweries, we've got a brew shop. So it's a very eclectic, cool space. And people weren't coming downtown because there were such few restaurants that they couldn't get into them. They're great, but they're busy. And so they couldn't get into those restaurants. And those brew shops and such were like, how can we get people downtown? We're struggling. And so the idea came to maybe bring one food truck down. And then I thought, well, instead of just one, I don't do anything small. So why don't we do more and make it kind of like an event? And it started by almost by force because our city ordinances do not allow food trucks in our downtown, except for a special event. So I had to create a special event for the food trucks to get approved. But then on top of that, I had to go to our city council. There was a lot of advocacy efforts put into this because we had to convince the city council to allow us to create this event and bring these food trucks in. And it didn't just stop with, okay, let us do it once. We had to prove ourselves. So we came back every 3 months and reported on results and said, this is good for business. This is bringing people down. And so um, what we do is we bring about 20 to 25 food trucks to our downtown. We do not close all of the streets because we've got a lot of street parking. And so it's important that people can get down and be convenient. So we block off some parking spots and we put the food trucks in place, and they're right up against the sidewalk. So all that pedestrian traffic stays right there on the sidewalks next to the businesses. And it's on the third Friday every month from 5 to 9 p.m. We've got about 30 trucks down there, and we're seeing an average of 3,600 people every Friday night that come down for this, which is amazing. We have grown from having, I think, 11 food trucks registered to do business in Opelika to nearly 60. And so that's sales tax revenue for our businesses. That's, permits for our city government. But then, of course, that also has driven membership for us. So we have a good number of food trucks who choose to be a member. You actually don't have to be a member to be a part of Food Truck Friday. But, we charge a fee to every truck that participates. They're required to be licensed and health department and pay their taxes and all of those things. And so it's a really great partnership for us that has just built so much community for our citizens. We have a very we've got a community that's about 50-50 when it comes to African Americans and white people, and then we've got a growing Hispanic population. And I was always told that a lot of African Americans didn't feel comfortable coming downtown. It just didn't feel like their place, and it could not be more different now because of Food Truck Friday. It has been just life changing because, again, a lot of the food trucks that we're bringing, these are businesses who aren't ready. Maybe they don't have their finances in order to have a brick and mortar store, but they can get themselves together for a food truck, and they're traveling around. And so we have a ton of African American food truck owners, which then bring the African American citizens to come down and get that food. And it has just created this true melting pot that our community on Food Truck Fridays looks like our community in downtown, and it's just really special.
That's awesome. I think it was just this past week I had seen a meme. If I remember right, I think it was put out by the 13 Ways organization, 13 Ways to Fill Your Community.
Mm-hmm.
And it said something to the effect of show me a vital downtown and I'll show you a vital community, right? So essentially your
Absolutely.
downtown is going to be a reflection of your community as a whole. So being able to put that focus on it, I see a huge value. And I love being able to see that representation of your community in the downtown. You mentioned it started through the pandemic, and I'm sure restaurant shutdowns and things like that. Are any of those restaurants, did they go from a brick and mortar to a food truck? Do they still operate that
Yeah,
way, or what's that dynamic look like today?
it has been so cool to watch the growth. So we had one of the ways that we really made this work was in the early days, we didn't have that many food trucks. So we had some caterers that really wanted to grow. So we would let the caterers prepare their food in their commissary kitchen and then set up in the brewery. And then they would serve their plates from the brewery. And so we have had, um, let's see, I think one caterer that became a food truck. We've had another caterer who now has one brick and mortar restaurant. She was just nominated for Business of the Year for our annual awards.
Awesome.
She's working on her second location. We've had trucks. We've had another truck that was just so popular called Las Latinas. They have now opened up their own commissary kitchen for catering services and for takeout, but are still operating their truck as well. So there's been a lot of growth and success as a result of Opelika having a hub for food trucks. And now it's turned into brick and mortar and just expanded service in the area.
That's awesome. So you had also mentioned you had to go back to the city council like every 3 months to state your case and really show the evidence of why this works.
Yeah.
What are some of those more compelling pieces that made them decide, yeah, this is a good thing to have on a regular basis?
Well, what we showed them is that when food trucks are parked close to a restaurant, you might think, oh, that's bad. We can't do that because it's going to take business away from the restaurant. But what we were doing is that we were driving such an influx of people, the food trucks couldn't handle the demand. So what we saw was that people would be hungry and decide, oh, I'm not waiting in that line. And they'd go into the restaurants. And so we provided photos of our restaurants being packed to the brim at 7 o'clock on a Friday night while there are still thousands of people out and about downtown. So we proved that. I think there just was such a high number of people downtown. Like the mayor would come out and get his Friday night dinner every Friday night. We had asked restaurants if they could provide reports if they were up or down. And the vast majority of them were up. Interestingly enough, the restaurants who refused to have a truck anywhere near their restaurant did not see success. They didn't. They decided, I don't want to be a part of it. So we respected their wishes and kept the trucks farther away from them. And they're the ones that aren't experiencing that influx. One of my biggest wins is there's a brewery that was pretty against it. They didn't like the idea. And so we respected them for the first couple of months. And then I went to them and I said, will you just trust me? Will you let me try this for 2 months? Let me close this street right in front of you. Let me put a truck right in front of your doors. And if you don't see an increase, then we'll go back. And now they're our biggest advocate because their restaurant's backed or their brewery's backed.
I was going to say that seems like such a perfect match, with the brewery and the food truck. So,
well, they serve food. And
I
so like
see.
they serve pizza and pretzels. So they were like kind of standoffish about it.
Yeah.
But again, now they've seen such an influx. And now we put this really great milkshake shop right in front of them. That's beautiful. That's, got great LED lights on top. So it draws a crowd. It's just like a beacon of light to send them over.
I love it. That's awesome. So our time goes quick in these Chamber of the Year interviews. So let's shift gears into the second program. If you want to introduce it, the second program was you submitted on your application.
Yes, our second program was the public policy program that we have put in place. And the world today has a lot of political fragmentation that we have to overcome. And it was really important for us to be that unified champion for public policy. And so we started by creating an issues-focused public policy agenda to engage our public sector. We host candidate forums. We supported our school system by being the main voice and advocate for the 5 mil tax referendum renewal. And then we also started distributing regular public policy newsletters to ensure our members understood that big picture impact of federal and state legislation on their actual business.
Awesome. I'm taking notes as you're going. You guys cover a lot of issues there, from the candidate forums, the school district, and the newsletters. Are you able to see like engagement with the newsletters as far as informing the community and any feedback you're receiving as providing that information?
Funny enough, it's quiet. All is
Yeah.
quiet, and quiet is okay because,
Until there's something of, buzzworthy, right? Then everybody's
yeah,
talking. Yeah.
quiet is okay. We've really taken that stance of trying to make sure that informing is the goal. We're not taking opinion. We're not, advocating one way or the other. We are simply informing. And so, um, our public policy emails, I think, have at least a 45% open rate. And we do send them on a regular basis just throughout the year. We will send them no more often than once a month. But when our state is in session for those 2.5 months, we try and do it every other week so that we're updating people on Friday afternoons for what's happened in the past week and or so. And so it's a segment of our membership that's interested, but they're not really loud and vocal. But that's okay. Our goal isn't to create this movement. We're simply trying to inform people and make them better educated.
Right. Yeah, I think in so many communities across the country, there's, local newspapers or local radio that used to cover these things that now maybe they don't have the bandwidth, they don't have the reporters, some of them don't exist anymore. And a
Right.
chamber is perfect to fill that void, to be able to keep the citizens informed of policies and things going on in the community and from the public policy arena. And it's a perfect alignment. And I'm
Hmm.
actually kind of surprised more chambers weren't involved with it before there was that kind of need, where there was those local news outlets.
It's kind of scary, like you don't want to get involved, but at the end of the day, I think Sherry Ann has shared this in the past. There's that, I think it's the Edelman barometer of trust. The community trusts the business community more than they trust the government, more than they trust the media. So why not us to be that communicating force? And so, we do a lot of intentional efforts. So we connect with our legislators through our leadership programs. We do a 20 under 40 leadership program where we bring our legislators in to connect with them. We do our Lee County Young Leaders program for high school juniors, where we go to see them at the state capitol and visit with the governor and lieutenant governor. And so we're doing all these little things that are, again, just informational, just trying to create those relationships and connections. We also host our annual State of the City event, which is kind of like an inaugural address, but for our mayor. And
Mhm.
that is a great way for him to celebrate what's been happening at the city. It's a way for us to really establish our foothold as the voice for business in our community, on all things advocacy. And it's really been it's been exciting to see us take that elevated approach. And there was nothing more prominent in that elevation than us leading the charge for the tax mill increase or the tax mill renewal for our schools. We put out yard signs and we did text messages and email reminders to people to vote, and we had a 92% voting approval rate for the tax mill. So, like, hey, it worked.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I've shared it before, but in our community, we had a recent bond being proposed for the school district, and um, my wife works for the school district, so she had a little bit of insider knowledge as far as the conversations going on about the number of participants, voters coming out to vote on this bond. And we're talking obviously millions of dollars for this bond. And there was such a tiny percentage of the community that is making big decisions for the entire community, and
Mm-hmm.
committing the community and the school district to huge debt. I mean, it can be a good thing and good purpose and everything, but when it's such a small percentage of the overall community that participates, it's so important for a chamber to take ownership of that, to drive voter turnout, and to just get the general public involved with sharing their voice and their values in the community. So
Yeah.
kudos to you
And
guys.
thank you. And I will say, I'm just going to pull out a little brag because I realized that 45% open rate was actually 57%, which is insane.
Hey, even
So,
better.
whoa.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, and as far as email open rates go, that's huge. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. That is awesome. So as you know, and recently being on the show, I like having my guests on the show talk about any tips or action items for listeners who are interested in taking their chamber up to the next level, especially as a Chamber of the Year finalist. You guys are kind of top of the game right now. So for those listening who would like to elevate their chamber, what kind of tip or advice would you offer for them?
I would say start small. You eat the elephant one bite at a time. It is not something where you go to sleep one day and you wake up the next day and all of a sudden you are this legendary public policy person on behalf of your community. It's those little steps. What our first step was to build a public policy agenda. We'd never done that before. We leaned on each other to do that. We connected with other communities that had done it before to get a good baseline. We surveyed our membership. We built a partnership with other chambers in the area and said, let's do this together. So start small. What's that top priority, and start there. And then we realized, okay, we need to do more. How do we update our members on what's happening every week in the legislature? So then we started our newsletter. And then before we know it, we get asked to be the leading voice for the tax mill. And so it just kind of snowballs, but start small. Don't be afraid to start small, and it will grow and grow and grow as you're ready for it to grow.
I think great advice. I think especially the point about partnering with other chambers, especially when you're talking about public policy and advocacy efforts. Work with other chambers. Work with your state chamber. They provide so many great resources that they're doing a lot of the legwork, and you're able to pass along the information and share it locally, right?
Yes. Well, that's the important thing to note about our public policy newsletter. We are not writing anything from scratch in that newsletter. Every single thing that we are sharing, it's a press release from the governor's office. It's articles from the U.S. Chamber's email or from ACCE's email that it's talking about a specific policy that's happening. We are simply copying, pasting it, shortening it for our format from an informational perspective, and that's it. And so you can absolutely do that, and they actually encourage it, which is really nice.
Yeah. It's great having partnerships with these organizations that say, we're doing this for you. Please take this, use this, share it in your communities. They want you to do it. So the other question I like asking is, as we look to the future of chambers of commerce, how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
I think, what I said last time still applies. I think we're going to have an even bigger role and space to be those catalytic leaders for the future. How do we be, I think Sherry Ann says it, how do we continue to be the same center that makes sure that we are helping our business community in ways that matter? I think the future means that we're not just going to do what we've always done. The chambers that are going to be successful, that are going to make waves and do great work for many, many years to come, are the ones that are adapting and trying to do bigger things versus sticking to what has been traditionally considered what a chamber does.
Yeah, absolutely. The same centers, it resonates very well. So especially in this crazy world.
Crazy world.
Crazy world. Well, Allie, I wanted to give you a chance again to share any contact information for listeners who want to reach out and connect with you and maybe learn a little bit more about these programs that you guys are highlighting that are definitely making an impact in the Opelika community. What would be the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
You can find us at opelikachamber.com or on any of the social channels at Opelika Chamber. And we are, of course, you can find me as well. My email address is listed on the website. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Allie Weiss Rauch. But I'm really excited, grateful, and appreciative, and looking forward to July.
Yes. And I can say your social media, your LinkedIn and stuff, you like eat, drink, breathe, everything chamber. So
I do.
Very well branded. So great person to follow.
I do nothing halfway, Brandon.
That's
nothing
right.
halfway.
That's right. Well, we'll get all of that in the show notes to make it easy for people to reach out and connect with you. But again, congratulations to you and your team. What an honor to be selected as a finalist. And I wish you guys the best of luck in Dallas.
Thank you so much, Brandon.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.